Well, here's a short video on the Jawa Californian, a motorbike you might never have seen if you're a UK resident. And it was an export model, mostly produced by Jawa in Czechoslovakia between about 1966 and 1971, I think. The motorbike appeared in two forms, as a single-cylinder 250 twin-port two-stroke, which is what this one is, and a 350 twin-cylinder two-stroke, which pioneered the auto lube system, and which didn't make it onto this bike. So this is a premix model. There was never an automatic oiler on the 250 model, and I think the 250 model might have been curtailed a little bit before the 350 one. Not sure about that. The motor survived into the 634 models, I think they were, that came afterwards. They changed the frame. The motor remained much the same. And eventually got an electric start. I say eventually, I don't think that happened for some time. And but the 250, this version of the 250 was stopped when they, I'm pretty sure it came to an end with this this model. I could be wrong about that, because Jawa made quite a lot of machines for the domestic and Eastern European market, which were a little bit more mundane in appearance. They had a lot of tinware on them. They're pretty good bikes, and there's still plenty of them around. Although you don't see them in this country very much, you know, occasionally one turns up at a show. Anyway, this one is a 1969 model, and it was made for the export market. Those that did remain on mainland Europe were slightly different to the export models. I don't want to be too much of an anorak about this, but one of the differences, I think, is the, I don't know if we can actually see it, but the export model has a Bosch electrics and speedometer, and it sports, I can't see it from here, but actually it sports a Lucas tail light, oddly, but nonetheless that's what it is. The frame's quite interesting. It sort of owes something to its off-road heritage, Jawa's off-road heritage, because Jawa were very big into the international 6-day trials in the 50s and 60s, and were very successful at that. Some people might tell you the reason is that they entered so many bikes they could scarcely lose, but I think that might be a little bit unfair. They're a pretty good bike. This engine is a unit construction single with single carb. Obviously, I mean, single cylinder. It's got one carburetor behind it, and on this side, you've got the foot brake and an exhaust pipe, and on the other side, you've got the gear change and the other exhaust pipe. So we've got twin port, getting to be pretty rare in the 60s and 70s to get a twin port two-stroke machine like this, but I guess it aided in the scavenging, and actually it's a very, very good two-stroke in my view. I think in my experience, I should say, because it's not exclusive. My favourite two-strokes are the Jawas and the Sachs. And I had a brilliant Sachs two-stroke 200 in a Messerschmitt bubble car that I think was my second car, and when I was a youngster, and that went amazingly well. They're a really nice little unit. Now this is the gear change here, and let's see if I can. I can't zoom out any more than that. And the gear change is also the kickstart. So if I push it in like that and pull it back like that, it's now the kickstart. So Jawa were quite famous for this dual purpose lever, but actually it's got three purposes, because there's the kickstart there, and it clicks forward into the gear stick like this. But if you depress the gear lever like that, you also activate the cone clutch. So the bike is actually semi-automatic. Now you don't need the clutch lever. Here's the clutch lever on the handlebars, but you don't need that for the ordinary operation of this motorbike, except to set off and maybe disengage yourself in a hurry, and disengage your drive, I should say, in a hurry. But yeah, interesting engineering, and it was developed, this engine basically, but the forebear of this engine was developed during the Second World War, and this is a really interesting story, and I'm going to tell it to you because I think it's not known by many people, but Jawa, a Czechoslovakian company, and they were set up, I think in the 1930s, by a Czech whose name was, oh God, of course I've forgotten. I should have brought my notes with me. Janislav, or I'm going to have to come back to you on that one. But he's a pretty famous man in Czechoslovakia, and he bought out the Wanderer company, a motorcycle company, which was a German company. So you've got JA for his name and WA for the Wanderer name, and that's where the Jawa name comes from. And they engaged the services of a British engineer who'd worked for either Ariel or AMC, and AJS AMC, I can't remember which. And I think that was a guy called Pritchett. And he helped them design some two-stroke motors and to expand the range of their bikes a bit, which in the early days were quite continental looking, with sort of that very continental pressed steel framework in a sort of rigid triangle going down to its pointy end at the back wheels, and he helped them modernize the range of bikes, and then when the clouds of war were gathering in 1939, Pritchett had to go back to England, and Jawa were left at the mercy of the German invasion. Now, this is where it gets quite interesting, really, because they had a fair idea at Jawa that the Germans were coming. And what they did was they built a secret wall, or the wall wasn't secret, but it created a secret room behind it. They built a wall in one of the factory buildings, and behind it, they continued during the course of the German occupation to carry on a program of research and development, and that produced this unit engine and a frame that was sprung both at the front and the back, that was known as the Perak in Czechoslovakia. And at the end of the war, they had a brand new bike ready to launch on the market. In the meantime, during the occupation, the Germans had stopped all production of Jawa motorcycles and turned the factory over to the maintenance and repair of their own bikes, largely DKWs and things like that. And So a lot of field grey paint was being used on the German motorbikes, and what the Czech engineers did was they painted their prototype Paracs in field grey and rode them out through the factory gates under the noses of the German guards. Now, from what I hear, a lot of people were shot for a lot less during the war. And so that was an incredibly brave and spirited thing to do. And it's always struck a chord with me, really, that they had enough faith in us to think that we would win the war. And we did, and Jawa had a head start in the motorcycle industry at the end of the war, but it was a complicated time, and there were lots of tariffs in play to defend people's industry all over the world, you know, in occupied countries and others. And Jawa actually marketed their Parac motorcycle in the UK briefly, or at any rate, it went to a motor show there and caused a bit of a stir. And they marketed it in the States under the Indian name. And I might be wrong about this. I think it might also have appeared under the Harley Davidson name briefly. But at any rate, it was a fantastic success for them. We had one once, but we don't have it anymore. I've kept hold of this one because when I was much younger, I had one of these in Australia and rode it from Brisbane down to Sydney. And you never let me down. It's really very, very reliable and torquey little motorcycle. But for long journeys like that, perhaps a little limited on its top speed. I think it would do 60, you know, but not a lot more. And sometimes when you're staring down a very long straight road that you can't even see the end of, you want to go a bit faster than that, but nonetheless it didn't let me down. So there we are, that's a Jawa Californian, and I think it's a lovely looking bike, and I really like it. It's a very tall bike, and it's very comfortable, and it's light, you know, and I think for me these days, you know, I favour lighter bikes really, but it's nice to have a motorcycle that's got a little bit of presence, and I think you'll agree with me that that one has. Not a lot not to like about that. That's simple, straightforward. Now, one thing I haven't told you about is the automatic clutch, because Jawa invented that as well, and it was stolen from them actually by a very large Japanese company who incorporated it into their 50cc step-through motorcycles, which sold in their millions all over Southeast Asia. And I think Jawa took them to court and made them pay them a royalty on every machine they sold. So the story goes, and so that's something else you may not have heard about. So there it is, that's the Jawa Californian 250, and a very nice thing it is too. Like and subscribe to the channel, guys, it helps if you do. These are just for your entertainment, these, and we're going to have a look at another 250 in a short while, and that's an American import of a British bike. It's a very late model BSA, and we're going to have a look at that one, and I need to register that in this country. So what I might do is just tell you how that's done, because quite a lot of people are bringing bikes back from the States, although the whole bike thing is classic bike thing is slowed down a bit at the moment. We're having a difficult time. Almost everybody's having a difficult time in this country, and so a lot of things are really slowing down, but that's no reason not to enjoy a little bit of motorcycle history. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and I hope to see you on the next one.